I'm Mark NP, and I'm here at McSorley's Ale House, the oldest bar in New York City, to talk about Feltman's hot dogs, the world's first hot dog. This is I Never Sausage a Hot Dog. I'm here with Michael Quinn, owner of Feltman's Hot Dogs, the original hot dog, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the history of the brand and how he got started in this business.
Thanks for having me on, Mark, and thanks for coming to McSorley's Ale House. This place is like a second home to me. I worked here for a short time and been coming here for, I don't know how many, well over 20 years. So, and recent years, it's now home to the world's first and finest hot dog, Feltmans of Coney Island, in which I co-own. Way back in 1992, my grandfather had told me about the story of Feltmans. You know, he used to talk about in the 30s, he would go to Feltman's restaurant, he was the #1 customer. And they always had the best hot dogs. And he was able to convey to me the certain recipe that was
That's
used
a nice way of putting it.
Well, it had no value at the time, you know. I mean, everyone laughed, you know, oh, you have this hot dog recipe. I brought value to it, you know. Years later, we revived this brand. My brother Joe and I did 12 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, came home, and we revived it because as kids growing up in Brooklyn, me and my two younger brothers always wanted to start a business together. And tragically, my brother Jimmy, whose picture is behind the bar here, he passed away in 9/11. And then when Joe came back after his time in the service, we decided, let's do this in memory of Jimmy, in memory of our grandfather, and Charles Feltman, because this is a person whose name has been relatively lost to history, and the guy did invent the hot dog as we know it today. And then we revived it 5 years ago. Started small with pop-ups and around Brooklyn and downtown Manhattan, Lower East Side, and opened up a little takeout window.
That's where I remember you guys from, down on St. Mark's Place.
Now the cool thing about the takeout window was Lorcan Otway. He's like me, a New York historian. He owns Theater 80. He had a little takeout window he was renting out. Kind of heard about Feltman's, the revival. Got in contact with me, and we leased the takeout window there. And didn't take long for the buzz to get out.
Not only did he invent the hot dog as we know it, right? But he also was the first one to put it into a bun. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that's a really important moment in hot dog history.
Well, that's what makes it the hot dog, right? When you put that sausage in a bun. He was a German immigrant, Charles Feltman. He lived in Brooklyn and he became a baker. And he had a couple of bakeries in the northern area of Brooklyn more. Well, around Park Slope also. He had a bakery in Park Slope, Brooklyn, the summer of 1867. So he was just trying to peddle his baked goods. You know, the summer of 1867, Prospect Park opened a couple blocks from his bakery. They started to build these roads to get to Coney Island. The Civil War just ended. You know, a lot of people were crowding the cities. They wanted to take a break for the day, go to Coney Island. Now, at the time, there wasn't much at Coney Island. It was just sand dunes, a couple of ramshackle saloons, but he was just he saw the potential there. So he was peddling his baked goods, right? His pies, his pastries, things like that. But people wanted lunch, right? People wanted lunch. So he came up with this idea of taking the Frankfurter sausage from his hometown of Germany and putting it on an elongated bun, which he would make at his bakery. So he went to a guy, an Irishman by the name of Donovan, who had he was a wheelwright. He had his business over on East Howard Avenue, East New York, on Howard Avenue. And he decided that he was going to convert his pie cart to the world's first hot dog cart. And that's what happened. He took the pie cart, Donovan, and he inserted a drawer to keep the buns fresh, a grill, some charcoal, a barrel, put some ice in there, keep the Frankfurter sausages nice and cold. And that summer of 1867, Feltman sold nearly 4,000 what he called Coney Island Red Hots. Now other people scratching their head wondering what's in this. You eventually used the slang term, the hot dog. And then by a few years later, he was able to build what would become the largest, most extravagant restaurant in the world, which was Feltman's Restaurant. You know, it was Ocean Pavilion. I mean, this place had a roller coaster. It had America's most famous carousel, a gigantic German beer garden. Not only hot dogs, German food, French food. It also had live entertainment. Charles Feltman was the first person to bring live entertainment to Coney Island. He was the first person to put 40,000 lights around. You know, people think of Luna Park. That was many years later. And he was also the first person to bring the express line, the Culver line, which today we know as the F train. It was one stop from Greenwood Cemetery to Coney Island. So he was definitely an innovator. He believed in Coney Island, and of course, his most famous invention is the hot dog.
Ironically enough, he rests in Greenwood today, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, and it's interesting you say that because my grandfather, who you know, kind of told me a bit about Feltman's and had that recipe. We would eat at a place called Burgerama when I was a kid, right across the street. It's a Burger King there now. It's called Burgerama, and he would take me there, and it was right across the street from the mausoleum, the Feltman's Mausoleum in Greenwood. And he used to point across the street. He goes, "You see that guy across the street? That's the guy who invented the hot dog." And how many years later, here I am in the hot dog business, talking about hot dogs.
With the same brand.
With the same guys, hot dogs.
How did you get involved with McSorley's here? You know, you mentioned that they haven't changed their menu in 50 years, right? How did you change the menu here?
Well, listen, I've been coming here since I was a kid, and they're like family to me. Everyone that works here knows me very well. You know, I consider them family. And what happened was when I had the little takeout window, I get a text from co-owner Gregory, and Gregory would say, hey Quinn, I'm really hungry, man. Can you have any leftover hot dogs? So I'd come down, I goes, don't forget to put sauerkraut and mustard on it. So I'd make him like a couple of hot dogs, wrap them up, close up the kitchen down the block, come here, and drop them off. And I remember him thinking like, you know what, Quinn? We should have these on our menu. So, you know, about a year later, it happened. You know, he made it happen, and it's been a hit because people just love coming here. It's a simple item. It makes sense, you know what I'm saying? And McSorley's does have very simple menu, very good menu. The food's excellent here. But you know, you can count on one hand all the food items, right? So it was just a home run, and people come here, and actually some customers, patrons of McSorley's, come up with their own toppings for Feltmans. There was one lady, I forgot what her name was, but she came in here, I saw her last week, and she had something with melted cheese on it. I don't know the name of the hot dog, but they get very creative. They like it in a particular way. You know, whether it's sauerkraut, whether the chili hot dog is excellent also. So it's just, it really just fits in with the culture here at McSorley's.
What do you like on a Feltman's hot dog?
I like my own mustard. I like McSorley's mustard, which is spicy. You know, Feltman's also we have our own brand of mustard.
Yeah.
With apple cider vinegar.
Here we go.
I left 2 planes so you can see how beautiful that dog is.
That is beautiful.
And can I tell you also, not only is Feltman's the tastiest, the original, the world's first and finest, this is the sexiest looking hot dog I've ever seen in my life. Look at
oh my God, it smells so good.
It shines. Look at that. It's a work. Look at the aesthetics of that.
Come on in.
That is a work of art right there. Look at that.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. All right. Clean. Not too garlicky, well-balanced spice blend, all natural, real beef, naturally smoked. What's not to love, right?
The snap is awesome. The sauerkraut, you're saying, where do you get this from?
Potomta's a company. I used it, I recommend it for here. You know, this is pretty much all, you know, I show them how to make it the right way, and they do a great job here. My favorite is the chair right here. That was Peter Cooper's chair. Peter Cooper used to sit in the back. You know, invented gelatin. He had the Cooper Union down the block. He used to drink here every afternoon. Snowstorm, January 1860. His good friend Abe Lincoln was giving a speech down the block. He's like, hey, let's get down the block. Let's go to, went down here to McSorley's. Lincoln stood on his chair in the back, gave a speech to all the men. And here it is, still standing, right here at McSorley's Ale House. Even on the side there, that's Harry Houdini's handcuffs. This would have been where Peter Cooper's table was, right here, where he would sit. So it would have been on this spot in January of 1860 that when Lincoln gave that famous speech at Cooper Union. He came across the street and he stood here and he gave a speech. I don't know if it was recorded, it probably wasn't, ever recording devices back then. He didn't order a Feltman's hot dog because we weren't here yet, but that would have been good marketing. You know what I'm saying?
That's it for this episode of I Never Sausage a Hot Dog. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe on YouTube, and thanks. Yeah, go for it.
Hey, thanks everyone for the interview. Great being here. Don't forget, Feltmans Hot Dogs, go to feltmanshotdogs.com. We're located nationwide in over 4,000 supermarkets. Do yourself a favor. Try the world's first and finest hot dog. Thank you.